You do not send a light tank against a heavy tank. This is not a matter of strategy or debate. It is a matter of physics. When Germany unveiled the Panther in 1943, the battlefield equation became brutally simple. Its frontal armor consisted of 80 millimeters of sloped steel capable of deflecting virtually any Allied shell at combat range. Its main gun, the 75mm WKW-42, could punch through 4 inches of armor from 2,000 yards away. Against this Titan, the Americans fielded the M4 Sherman. It possessed only 51 millimeters of frontal armor. Its maximum effective range against heavy armor was a mere 500 yards, and even then, success required a miracle angle and tremendous luck. The German Panzerwaffe had built their doctrine on a single unwavering assumption: thickness wins. Heavier armor, bigger guns. They sought to build tanks that could dominate any engagement through sheer engineering superiority. Every tactical manual agreed. Every after-action report confirmed it. Every burning Sherman in the hedgerows of France proved it. You do not send a light tank against a heavy tank. But in the summer of 1944, one American tank crew and thousands of others like them proved that Germany had built their entire armor doctrine on a fatal misconception. They had optimized their machines for the wrong war. His name was Lafayette Poole. He was 21 years old, hailing from Odom, Texas. Before the war, he had never seen a tank except in flickering newsreels. They called him War Daddy. By September 1944, Staff Sergeant Poole commanded In the Mood, an N4A1 Sherman that had become a legend within the 3rd Armored Division. His crew had destroyed 12 German tanks and knocked out 258 enemy vehicles and artillery pieces. They had been struck by German fire 21 times, yet they had never lost a man. These numbers sound impossible until you understand what they truly represent. Poole had not survived because his Sherman was a superior machine. He survived because he understood something that German panzer commanders did not. The tank is not the weapon. The crew is the weapon. The scene in Europe during the summer of 1944 was grim. While the Wehrmacht was collapsing across France, it was not a rout. It was a disciplined fighting retreat. German armor commanders conducted textbook mobile defenses, positioning Panthers and Tigers in hole-down positions, hidden behind hedgerows and stone buildings. They would wait for American armor to expose itself, and then they would fire. The kill ratio was devastating. For every German tank destroyed, the Americans lost 4, sometimes 5 Shermans. Supreme Allied Command understood the mathematics of the conflict. They knew their tanks were outmatched in direct combat, but they also knew one critical fact: they could replace their losses. Germany could not. The Sherman was never designed to fight Panthers one-on-one. It was designed to be mass-produced, easily repaired, and simple enough for a crew to master in weeks rather than months. It was small enough to fit onto transport ships by the thousands. Consider the industrial disparity. The German Panther required 55,000 man-hours to build. Its Maybach engine was a masterpiece of engineering, yet it was nearly impossible to replace in the field. Germany built only 6,000 Panthers. The American Sherman required only 10,000 man-hours. Its radial engine could be swapped out in 4 hours using parts common to American trucks. America built 50,000 Shermans. But production numbers alone do not win battles. Tactics win battles. The will to close the distance and take risks wins battles. Lafayette Poole understood this better than almost any tank commander in the European theater. On September 19, 1944, near the German border outside the town of Stolberg, Poole's platoon received orders to advance through the town, identify enemy armor, and call in artillery. It was a standard reconnaissance in force. Poole's Sherman rolled into Stolberg at 0900 hours. His crew was at full alert. Gunner Corporal Wilbert Richards scanned every window. Loader Private Bert Creighton kept the 75mm gun fed, and driver technician Dick Shepard kept the engine at optimal RPM, ready to maneuver at a moment's notice. They were not heroes charging into glory. They were professionals executing a tactical movement that was about to turn deadly. The Panther appeared 800 yards ahead, hull down behind a destroyed building. Poole and Richards saw it at the same instant. The German commander had positioned himself perfectly, frontal armor angled, only the turret exposed, and the main gun already traversing toward the American column. At this range, the Panther could kill them with a single shot, while Poole's 75mm gun could not hope to penetrate the Panther's front. German doctrine dictated that they should hold position and use their superior range. Poole decided otherwise. He gave 3 commands in 4 seconds. Driver, hard left behind that building. Gunner, HE round, load, I'm flanking. Shepard threw the Sherman into a skidding turn, disappearing behind a 3-story apartment building just as the Panther's first round screamed past, missing by a mere 15 feet. Poole was not retreating, he was repositioning. The Sherman raced down a parallel street at 25 miles per hour. Poole calculated that the Panther commander would expect a withdrawal or a call for artillery. Instead, Poole circled the block. The Sherman's suspension crashed over rubble as they covered 300 yards. Poole's plan was to get behind the Panther before its commander realized the Americans had changed the geometry of the fight. As the Sherman emerged from a side street 400 yards behind the German tank, they found their mark. The Panther's rear armor was only 40 millimeters thick, thin enough for the Sherman to bite. Gunner, traverse right, Panther rear quarter, 400 yards, fire. The shell crossed the distance in under a second, punching through the engine deck and detonating inside. Smoke erupted as the German crew bailed out. Poole didn't celebrate. He knew German armor never traveled alone. 30 seconds later, a second Panther rounded a corner 600 yards away. Poole hid his tank behind a demolished storefront. He waited as the second Panther advanced cautiously. At 450 yards, as the Panther's turret began to search for them, Poole ordered the shot. The shell ricocheted off the side armor, failing to penetrate. The Panther's turret swung toward them instantly. Poole had 5 seconds. Driver, back now. The Sherman lurched backward just as the Panther fired, vaporizing the storefront where Poole had been seconds before. This was the calculus of Sherman warfare. You cannot trade shots. You must move, fire, and move again. You must use terrain and speed because your armor will not save you. Poole anticipated the German's next move. He's going to stop at that corner and pivot. That's your window. As the Panther reached the corner and began to turn, exposing its side, Richards fired. The shells struck perfectly perpendicular, and a German tank erupted in flames. In 4 minutes, Poole had destroyed 2 Panthers using a tank that every expert said was inferior. He had won because he understood the geometry of combat. What the German doctrine failed to account for was that the Sherman's perceived weakness was actually a tactical catalyst. Because the Sherman was expected to be vulnerable, American crews learned to fight with a level of aggression that terrified their opponents. German crews were trained to be cautious and preserve their difficult-to-replace machines. American crews, knowing their tanks featured rapid escape hatches and wet storage ammunition systems to prevent explosions, developed a hit-hard-and-move psychology. If your tank was likely to be hit, you made sure it did maximum damage first. This resulted in staggering statistics by late 1944. American tank crew casualty rate, 18%. German tank crew casualty rate, 47%. Replacement time, 24 to 48 hours for an American Sherman, 3 to 6 weeks for a German Panther. The Americans had built a system to win the war, not just a machine to win a duel. Even when Poole's luck finally ran out on September 30th, 1944, when an 88mm shell destroyed his tank and cost him his leg, the system didn't falter. Within 24 hours, his crew was given a new tank and his tactical notes were being distributed to the entire division. The knowledge survived even when the steel did not.
The war ended with American armor advancing on Berlin, while German super-heavy tanks like the King Tigers sat abandoned on roadsides, too heavy for the bridges, out of fuel, and too complex to repair. Germany won the armor race, but America won the war. Lafayette Poole returned to Texas with a chest full of medals and a prosthetic leg. He passed away in 1991, a quiet end for a man who had redefined armored warfare. His gunner, Wilbert Richards, later remarked, "The tank that wins isn't the one with the thickest armor, it's the one with the smartest crew." Today, the M4 Sherman is a museum piece, but Poole's tactics remain at the core of modern armored doctrine. The U.S. Army still studies his engagements at Stolberg as the definitive example of how speed, position, and aggression can neutralize a technological disadvantage. Germany built tanks to win battles. America built a doctrine to win a global conflict. In the ruins of the Third Reich, that distinction made all the difference.